Yamaha Clavinova keyboard is unlike anything
That was
you've ever
Have
heard.
You
So
Heard,
we've compared it to
Pat Metheny. I did that, Hugh, because I wasn't sure people knew what a CVP Clavinova was. Have you heard what it is? Right?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What a beautiful performance. Folks, welcome. Welcome to Cunningham Piano. I'm Hugh Sung, and this is Craig Knudsen. Hello, Craig.
Nice to see you all.
Well, you know, we're on opposite coasts. I'm here on the East Coast. And Craig, where are you right now?
I'm in Palm Desert, California. I think it's about 101 degrees out there right now.
You should come over to our area. It's still nice and cool. We're actually having some nice spring weather here. But anyway, for everybody who's joining us, welcome. I see we're already having a very full room here. Thank you so much for joining us. I think it's going to be a few more minutes before the room really fills up. But this is Cunningham Piano's Finding Your Creativity workshop. It's a little bit of a webinar that Craig and I have put together to explore creativity in these, shall I say, interesting times. And I'm so honored to have Craig join us. And we're going to be focusing on musical creativity. One of the things I've been noticing that's been very interesting is that in this interesting time, more folks are discovering ways to become creative, whether it's learning how to cook at home, learning how to bake bread, that's becoming a hot thing, to developing new hobbies. And we're actually seeing, believe it or not, an explosion of interest in people wanting to learn to make music, wanting to make their own music. And I thought, what better way to explore this than to talk about one of the most amazing instruments that makes creating your own music and exploring your own creativity so wonderfully possible with this Yamaha Clavinova. Craig, I'm wondering if you could give us a little bit of an introduction into what this instrument actually is and what it can do for those of us who are creatively curious.
Well, clav means keyboard, nova means new. Yamaha invented the first digital piano, the Clavinova, in 1983. And it was the first manufacturer to do 88 keys, 3 functional pedals, a weighted action. And so first and foremost, the Clavinova really is a piano. I'm going to push one button here and activate a Bosendorfer Imperial and play the piano. Hugh, I did that because a good friend of the family that I grew up with in Minnesota, they saw a presentation I did a couple of weeks ago, and we're seeing all the bells and whistles and the whole thing, and she says, Craig, do you actually play the piano? And so I thought it was important to do a good piano-focused piece. That was Water Fountain by David Foster, if you ever saw the movie Secret of My Success with Michael J. Fox. It's always been one of my favorite pieces.
What a beautiful instrument. I think that's a great place to start because this is, at its heart, this is a piano. And actually many pianos, isn't it? It's not just, you were demonstrating some beautiful piano sounds, but there are multiple instruments that this instrument can actually recreate. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah. The piano is a high-definition, high-resolution recording of a 9-foot concert grand piano, and that's what I was doing there with all those weighted actions. There's other sounds that we can also sample, and later on today, I'll go through some of the other things that Yamaha has made. You know, Yamaha's the largest musical instrument manufacturer in the world. 1 out of 4 musical instruments made today are made by Yamaha. And so when I play the saxophone or the guitar or the trumpet, that's actually a recording of a Yamaha instrument that we put in the Clavinova, and I'll show you some of that a bit later.
Now, this is a question I get from a lot of folks. When
Yep.
they hear Yamaha, most folks first think of motorcycles. And the question I get asked is, are they the same company? They seem to have the same name. Their logos are a little bit different, but are they the same company?
Believe it or not, Yamaha's first instrument was in 1887. It was a reed pipe organ. It was around the 50s. They got so good at making the harp on a piano, that precision that holds a piano together, that the foundry that was used to make that harp, they realized they could make engine blocks in a very precise way. And so, yes, it is the same company originally. Actually, you know, I wish I could take my little Yamaha for a ride. This is a Yamaha right here. I think I will take this Yamaha, put this in motorcycle mode, and let me see if I can start it up. Hopefully I put gas in here. Let me see. And oh my gosh, I just realized this is the deluxe model. This is electric start. There we go. Let's take this Yamaha for a ride. This is a song called Joyride by Spyro Gyra. I can't believe I did that. All right. So yes,
That
it
is
is
so
the same
much
company,
fun.
but let's get it out of motorcycle mode here. You know.
So, you know, you're touching on some of the amazing possibilities. We saw that it's a beautiful piano, but so much more. It's also a built-in, I didn't realize it was a built-in motorcycle too. All those sound effects and all the instruments layered together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. And I wanted to see if we could unpack some of the magic of how you do these incredible arrangements.
Well, one of the things that I thought I might show you is a lot of times when people see me playing along with pre-recorded music, and let's face it, obviously there's pre-recorded music that I'm playing along with, and that's one of the benefits of playing with a Clavinova in the sense that when I was growing up, the only thing I got to play along with was this. Now, but there's a purpose in that. It forces you to count, all right? And in fact, Dennis Van Vactor, a good friend of mine who used to be a district manager for Yamaha, says, you know why kids learn how to count so well in band and orchestra? Do you know the reason, Hugh?
I have no idea. What's the reason?
Because no one wants to play during the rest. Right?
True for orchestras
And
too.
so he makes the point that when you're playing the piano, it's too easy for you to create your own tempos, basically. But when you play along with pre-recorded music, oh, that's sort of fun. This next piece, however, is something that a gentleman named Philip Kevern and I, for Yamaha many years ago, developed a technology where as I play the piece, instead of me following the background will follow me. Do you want to hear it?
Absolutely. So this is,
All right.
the piano's actually following, so you're not playing a pre-recorded track that you have to stay in time for. You can play any speed you want and play it differently each time, right?
Yes, it's waiting for me to hit certain notes. If I don't hit those certain notes, it won't continue. All right. So
Okay.
let me just play it here, and I think you'll watch carefully.
Oh, that was beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I could see that you were purposely stretching and you had absolute freedom. It's like the best chamber music I've ever seen. Amazing. Wow.
So we call that cue time. And I'll show you later on, that's the exact same technology we use for a thing called follow lights. In fact, let me just show it to you since we're demoing the Clavinova. So I told you it's waiting for me to play certain notes, and in that case, of course, I was playing the notes in the course of performing the piece. However, look at this. Here's an arrangement, and this is a little technology that I was thinking of my dad. My dad had no interest in taking lessons, no interest in learning how to play the piano, but he did enjoy music. And with the follow lights here, lights showed him which notes to play, and if he doesn't play the right note, waits until he does. So watch this. This is Tenderly. So I don't know if you can see on the light here. This is just like cue time. It's waiting for me to play this note.
You can see it on the overhead
lights up
cam.
the next one.
There you go.
The next one, right? And watch this.
Wow.
All right? If you hit a wrong note, let's do a wrong note. It's waiting for certain notes. If I turn on the score, you can actually see which note it's waiting for. But this is very similar to cue time. Cue time, I'm not following lights. I'm reading music, and in the course of playing the piece, I might hit those lights. But here, there is no music other than the score, and you're following the lights, and it's following you. So it's the same technology as cue time, and it's called guide. Clavinova is the only digital piano on the market that has a system that waits for you rather than you having to follow it. And we use that with cue time and follow lights.
Now, that's something you can actually create on the instrument, right? You can actually create these guided pieces. So if a teacher, for example, wanted to create this sort of interactive piece for their students, they could actually create it on the Clavinova, and then the students themselves can have the joy of not just knowing that they're playing the right notes, but also having these quote-unquote musical rewards. As you were showing when you played a certain note, then we had some extra things filling in to kind of show that you did the right thing. That's a really, I want to talk about a musical incentive.
Well, later on when I do the voice demos, when I do Roundabout, for example, you know, you're doing all these things with the guitar. Out of my left eye, I see I've got that little bottom E, and I know when I hit that E, boom, it's going to set off the MIDI file, and I'm playing along with it. So I love the guide function, and the CVP and the CSP are the two Clavinovas that have guide. So.
And that's really something that you take advantage of so well. You take this guide function and you create these rich orchestrations that trigger the next set of voices or the next set of music, so that you both have the freedom but also the richness of, so it's kind of like a combination of freeform and pre-recorded tracks working together. Am I describing that correctly?
Yeah, you know, it's really sort of funny, Hugh. when I show the guide function to real advanced musicians who may not know too much about the Clavinova, they're more into synthesizers and motif, when they see that feature, they say, oh my gosh, that's cool. I wish I could do that, you know. So yes, we've used guide a lot, but you know, you were headed towards something there that maybe the audience might find interesting. How do we create those layered arrangements? Should I go through a quick demo of that?
Before we do, we actually had an interesting, I'm just monitoring some of the questions that are coming through. Thank
Yeah.
you for everybody that's joining in. Great question from Lana, who just joined in. She's asking, what model Clavinova is this?
This is a CVP 809 GP white, complete with the slow close fallboard. And it's the first one of these. I've got it about 2 weeks ago. I like, you know, normally I wouldn't have thought white in a piano, but it really makes it easy to see the buttons, and I sort of like it.
And this is a this is a grand piano design, but it's available
Yes.
both in a grand piano and in a console model as well, right?
And also polished ebony, which is the one that most people like. But all right, so let me do a multi-track arrangement here. This is a song called Sonata. If you're a Mannheim Steamroller fan, let's watch the screen. I'm just going to record one track with the electric piano here. So this is an electric piano. Let's just play it here. I won't shut off my mic. So the reason why I don't need to shut off my mic is it's not recording the sound. It's recording keystrokes. It's recording which notes I'm playing, the order in which I'm playing them, and how long I'm holding down the notes. And when I play it back, check this out. Score, record. Look at this. There's the notes that I played. All right. So now, while this is playing back, let's switch the sound to a harpsichord. And then I'm going to go from track 1 to number 2. So we simply go to 2. And then like a sandwich, while the first part is playing back, I'm going to layer on top of that the second part, in this case the harpsichord. Starts recording when I hit a key. Watch. If you make a mistake, no big deal. You just re-record that track. It doesn't hurt the tracks that you've already recorded. Let's go to some strings. I'm going to put in some nice strings here. You can do this up to 16 different channels, 16 different parts. Let me just do a couple more. How about a nice bass line here? And that sounds like this. And I think you get the idea. Oh, let me just add a little bit of percussion. This is sort of cool because I've got like a high cymbal crash, hi-hats. And a little bell tree. All right. So the idea is, Hugh, that simply, again, when I was learning how to play, this is all I had. But instead of playing along with that, why not play along with all of these great accompaniments? I told Jackson Berkey, who's the piano player for Mannheim Steamroller, he said, Jackson, I always play Sonata when I do my multi-tracking demo. And he said, because it's such a beautiful song. And I said, well, it is a beautiful song. It's just that it's the only song I can talk and play at the same time.
You know, it's I'm thinking so much of all the buttons and all the functions you have, and I know some folks may be thinking, well, I just want to play a piano, but I don't know if folks know me. Folks who know me know that I love food. I love great restaurants. So I'm suffering a little bit with the restaurant closures that are happening, but I'm trying to do my part with some takeout. But I love to travel, I love good food, and I love to cook. And one of the things that I find so helpful in expressing myself creatively in the kitchen is to have lots of spices, have all my knives and tools, and that gives me, and of course all the ingredients. The more things I have to work with, the more options I have to really create new dishes, take some recipes, but then modify them a little bit. And every time I kind of travel someplace to somebody else's home, like a family member, they don't have the spices that I have. I feel myself so limited because I can't make the things that I want to make. And this Clavinova, this CVP 809 GP, really gets me thinking, but this is like the ultimate kitchen with all the tools, all the ingredients, all the spices that you could really mix and create your own music. It's really quite remarkable, as well as play things that you already know and love.
Well, and you're exactly right. That's one reason why we've got so many different types of voices. I think I heard at one point Andrew Lloyd Webber owned 27 Clavinovas. In fact, recently, if you see him in YouTube videos, he's playing with the Clavinova. And I think he uses it a lot because it's a great way for him to try out a lot of those spices. Instead of going to the piano part and say, this is what the flutes do, and then this is what the strings will do, he can actually play it with the flutes, and he can actually play it with the strings. And yet, an advanced musician such as himself, then I have no problem then showing this to people who don't know how to play, like follow lights and kooky karaoke and the styles and accompaniments, which, so it's a very versatile instrument in that sense.
I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about some of the backgrounds that you create and how that all works. I mean, there's a lot I want to unpack.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you asked for that because this is something that I've been working on. Okay. I thought, what kind of piece should I learn as we come out of this quarantine that we've been involved in, and as we pick up the pieces, so to speak. And then I thought, I know that song. So watch this. This is I realized it was a good demonstration of what a style is. Verbally, a style is you play the melody here, and whatever chords you play in the left hand, it'll add a band and accompaniment based upon the chords that you play in the left hand. But sometimes that is still hard for people to understand when they see and they don't understand what I'm doing live and what the style is doing. So watch this. Pick up the pieces, all right? I've got the melody here. I split the keyboard, put a little guitar here. So if you put it together, now I'm going to play exactly the same thing with a style. The style is called jazz funk. I'm going to play an F minor 7. Here we go. believe I did the whole thing.
That
I left my
is
mic on the whole time.
amazing. Don't worry about the mic. Oh my goodness, that sounds incredible. Now, so I want to break this down a little bit because
We got to pick up the pieces.
I was looking at your hands moving not just on the piano keys but on the buttons. I'm wondering if you could take a moment to explain the different sections, because
Yes.
that style was, you were doing some amazing things, and we're hearing different instruments. You started
Yeah.
with 3, but then you changed your instruments, and then you changed
Right.
the rhythm, the band changed, then you added the instrument.
right.
I mean, so talk a little bit about that.
Here we go.
Okay.
So, the style, I'm going to switch to a style here called jazz singers. And the easiest way to think of a style is, first of all, and most important, is just the rhythm part. So we've got a drummer here, all right? So let's listen to the drum. Nice little swing here, right? All right. Now, a drummer's not going to play the same thing over and over. If I hit the fill in, he adds a little variation in there, which is sort of nice. And just like telling a story, the A pattern is the simplest. That's very simple on that one, all right? B pattern. C's a little more advanced, a little busier. And when you get to D, the most busy. All right. So that's the rhythm part. If I turn on the accompaniment button, then the Clavinova is waiting for me to play a 3-note chord. And if I give it that 3-note chord, in addition to the rhythm, thank you, drummer, it'll play the rest of the band. Here we go. Now, there's a lot going on there. I'm going to mute everything out. Let's just subtract these out. So there I've got the rhythm. Here's the bass line. Guitar. Now this is where it gets interesting. If I switch chords, the drummer still plays what he's doing, but the rest of the band transposes to whatever chord I play, in this case an F. In this case a G. In this case a C minor. In this case a G13. You can get some pretty fancy chords here. And then, as Hugh was mentioning, I could start with an introduction. So let's say I do a C chord with one of the 3 introductions. Add everything in. 8-measure intro. Play the melody. Fill in. D gets really advanced. Ending. So that's one of about 1,500 styles.
That
select.
is
Go ahead.
amazing.
Fun, huh?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for breaking that down. I think this is
Yeah.
one of those things that most people don't realize. As you say, it's like a storybook approach to creating your own song. You were just making whatever you wanted up, right? It's kind of a combination of these styles that give you kind of a skeleton to work on, and you can do whatever you want and yet have different variations of a beginning, different variations of the body of the story, and different variations of the ending. It's brilliant.
It's really sort of a good way of looking at it in the sense that, Hugh, you brought up an interesting point. The very first song I played, I'm playing along with pre-recorded music. Here, I'm creating the music in real time. If I suddenly want to play an F chord and then go to the bridge and play that 4 times, you can do that. And so that is why when we talk about style play, it's really sort of more live performance instead of everything being pre-recorded. Now, of course, those individual sections are recordings by fantastic musicians, Check this out. This is a new style that just came out on the CVP 800 series. The style itself is called Gunslinger. I wonder what... Now watch this. I'm going to play a D minor. Here we go. Had to throw that in. But so styles. Now let me show you. I didn't tell you I was going to do this, Hugh, but this one I absolutely adore. Let me remember where I put it here. This is in prep, and yes, this is a simple style called Angel's Son. Watch this. Watch this. So just poignant styles for whatever mood you might be in, and for some reason I felt like a little Eleanor Rigby.
I was noticing that you were, and we saw the song sections kind of on the far left there.
Yep.
But I was also
song
noticing,
here.
Yeah.
Style here.
Okay.
Yep.
But I was noticing that your hand was also moving kind of to the right. There was a couple of buttons on the right. Yeah,
Yes.
that section over there.
Yeah.
And that seemed to change the sounds. Can you talk a little bit about that right section of buttons?
Yeah, if you get above me with your camera, by the way, Hugh Sung is switching cameras from Philadelphia. This is so cool. I'm not doing the switching.
I'm doing the switching for you.
There you go. All right. So basically, the style section we just finished with over here is over here. So these are the 3 intros, the 4 variations, and then the 3 endings. And then you select the styles here. What you were noticing is I was selecting these buttons here. Think of these like in your car stereo, when you have your favorite radio stations. You're not going to dial it in manually every time. You're going to find your favorite station, and you're going to memorize it. And that's exactly what I've done here. So what I did is for that one, I had the beginning, and when I got to that bridge part, I just put them in the right order, and I call this up as one bank, and that whole thing is just Eleanor Rigby.
And you can kind of program what you want saved in those, I guess we call them registration banks. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Very similar to what was going on years ago with organs, where they had all those tabs that you push down.
Yeah.
They're called capture action. Here it captures, takes a digital picture, essentially, of the location of everything on the piano. So if you want to play a certain song, you just call it up and hit the first button, and you're off and running. Yeah,
I have a quick question from Mario, who's asking, what is the extra pedal and the mouse for?
Oh, okay.
The mouse, I think, is something else, but the pedal is something interesting. I wonder if you could speak to that.
Right. I've got the mouse here to start and stop the Zoom meeting, so that's the only reason why that's there. And but this is very important down here. This is an expression pedal. If you're going to play organ sounds, for example, and that's what I grew up playing. First instrument I ever played was a jazz organ. Hammond B3 was the name of it. And organ sounds do not have expression normally. It's either on or off, and the only way to get volume is with something like this. So check this out. I've got, in fact, check out the picture here, Hugh. This is me in front of my Hammond.
Oh, that's great. Is that you?
B3 with my
wow.
Justin Bieber hair.
I love it.
So that's the B3. Now, if you look at the screen of the Clavinova, I essentially have the same thing here. Drawbars are built right in.
Oh,
Let me switch this to the screen of the Clavinova. Come on. And
we're projecting the, so this, you have actually a touch screen.
There it is.
And then you can control, there you go, there's the screen.
Yeah, and so here I can.
You can actually, so you're actually touching the touch screen and changing the drawbars? That's amazing.
Changing the drawbars. And then now watch, get the shot of the pedal. Watch this.
Can you do me a favor? Can you just take the organ sound, because your foot was moving so fast, can you just demonstrate really slowly what that pedal's actually doing? Ah, look at that. Sorry, do it again, please. So it's actually changing the volume. Oh, that is so cool. Wow. Wow, neat.
And it's fun having those drawbars in there, and does bring back good memories.
So I'm wondering if, we've covered so much ground. I'm wondering if perhaps we can talk a little bit about some other things that are fun for folks. Okay, you've talked through some pretty advanced things.
Yep.
And I think most musicians, if they have an open mind and have a sandbox mentality, it's like there is so much to play with. At the same time, I think it can be a lot for somebody who is looking for their first instrument, and that's a lot to do. Even though the instrument can do a lot for you, can we talk about some of the things that help people who don't really play the piano? How can this inspire their creativity?
All right. Well, as you were saying that, I was sort of doing a little wiring behind the scenes here. And I've got a little surprise for you. And again, this is another example where Hugh has no idea what I've cooked up to do here. Apps. If you look carefully on that instrument behind my shoulder, you'll notice there's an iPad sitting over there.
There you go.
Okay? And I've just opened up an app here called Piano 3D. Okay? Oh. And what's fun about this app is I can actually play this player piano essentially from this keyboard. So watch this. If I play, notice the keys are moving on that player piano. Can you see that?
That is so cool. Oh my goodness, wow.
Okay. Even the pedal moves. If I push the pedal down.
So that is, your
All right.
Clavinova is connected to the app, which is controlling those animations?
Yes.
Wow.
That's simply a thing called MIDI. And I've got a little Bluetooth MIDI adapter that Yamaha makes that's sending MIDI to that iPad wirelessly. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play an arrangement of, well, I'm going to play a duet with Liberace. My family friends from Minnesota were the Hawkins, and they had a player piano there. And in that player piano, they had Liberace playing T for two. And to this day, it's the greatest arrangement because he goes from melody to melody and all over the place. Well, I've programmed this now so that Liberace is going to play that. And look at this app. I can go into what is called auto camera mode, and it'll fly around while Liberace is playing that piano while I play this piano with some different sounds. Here we go. So, wasn't that a great arrangement?
That
Liberace,
is
man, that was
so
his heyday.
delightful. Oh my goodness.
Fun. So let me shut off the app. Now we have other apps. We have a thing called Visual Performer. Visual Performer allows you to play notes on the keyboard, and it creates graphics, which are sort of fun. So watch, when I play certain notes, it creates graphics on the screen. I can switch to other different patterns. Let's say I want these circles instead. Just to make things fun for kids and adults when they're learning how to play and get some more visualization.
Now talk about creativity. I mean, this is where you're painting pictures and making music at the same time.
Good way of saying it.
Yeah, that's the whole, isn't that the essence? It's having fun. I think sometimes we forget that fun is a huge element of inspiring. If you're not enjoying it, you know, what's the point? But here, you're infusing musical ideas with other senses and other technologies. It's so cool. So
Agreed.
wow, so much. That's amazing. I know you've got another really fun thing. I'll make a confession. I can't sing. I'm the world's worst singers. And everybody keeps telling me, oh, everybody can learn to sing, but don't get me near a microphone. I don't mind speaking, but singing, I don't know. I'm wondering, now we've talked about the instruments, but this is also, believe it or not, a vocal instrument, isn't it? I think Craig is getting this set up over here. Let me see.
2, 1.
There we go.
1, 2. There you go.
Yeah.
Yes. I used your intro to go ahead and load something else in.
I mean, that's the other thing. You can connect a microphone to this, and
Yes,
you know, you could certainly
and-
sing along with songs, and you can, as you can hear, there's a little bit of that karaoke type of reverb. But I think there's more that you can do than just simply hear your reverb with your voice, right?
Yes, I'm stalling a little bit more because I'm looking for it. I changed my mind in the middle of that.
I've had, you know, believe it or not, in Korea, I've had a few experiences of going to a karaoke bar, or what they call, what they call that. Well, anyway, and so
Right.
it was embarrassing, totally humiliating, but lots of fun, you know. And even though I'm somebody who is really shy about singing, you can kind of bring that to your home and maybe get inspired to sing along with your piano.
Oh, yeah,
Whoa,
baby.
Craig, are you okay? What happened to your voice?
A little Barry White. I love doing this part. I can't sing, though.
Neither can I. That's amazing. You can actually change your
So-
voice too.
Okay, so let me explain sort of what's going on
Yeah.
here. There's different, basically different things we can do with the pitch correction. We can add vibrato. We can harmonize with our own voice, and we can even put the lyrics up on the screen here. So let me find, this is probably the best way to sort of describe it here. Puff the Magic Dragon, all right, so we all know this. And I'm going to shut off the pitch correction the first time through here, so watch this. Start the file. If I were to sing poorly here, it would sort of sound like this. Puff
Sound
the
like me.
magic dragon.
That's me.
Watch what it does right now. Oh. Puff the magic dragon lives by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Little paper, love that rascal Puff. Strings and sealing wax, here comes 4-part harmony. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lives by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. So that's the part that's sort of fun. It added the vibrato, it corrected my pitch, it added harmony, you know, so it's crazy.
That is now.
That
I want to sing. If it can make me sound that good, that's amazing. Oh my goodness! Wow. I think that's
So-
part of why I love this instrument. It's something that beginners can dive into and discover that music is, as we professional musicians know, it is so much fun. But it's deep enough that you can really explore the full range of orchestrations and harmonic layering and compositions. In fact, I'm in the process of an interesting project right now of creating an online piano orchestra. We've got hundreds of, I think about 170, 180 people signed up so far, and I think still more people are going to sign up, but we're doing a mashup of Disney's Mulan theme with Claude Debussy, and I actually used this Clavinova CVP to help me construct the parts to teach everybody their various parts. I couldn't have done this on any other instrument. This Clavinova CVP was such a vital tool for me to construct the concept and the idea and to disseminate the different parts and to test them out like Andrew Lloyd Webber does, to test out to see if these things would actually work. This is the perfect performance and testing and laboratory all rolled into one.
Well, Hugh, you know, we are getting to the point where Andrea Bocelli wanted to point out that we're sort of running out of time and getting close to the end, that it's almost
Time to say goodbye. Horizons are never far.
would I have to find them.
Without your light on my own, with you, I will go.
Couldn't resist doing that. Hopefully that came across. I put on the headphones here because sometimes when I'm singing, it comes back into the mic, and that way it sort of mutes it. So, so why don't we answer some more questions, and I'm going to reset here.
Sure. So I'm just kind of looking through. Does anybody? I want to thank everybody for participating. Everybody who's joined in. Does anybody have any questions? I can see the chat window over here on my monitor. I really appreciate everybody joining in, and got a lot of comments. Oh my goodness. I'm going to just shout out to my team right now. I know my team is helping me kind of curate some of the comments. Are there any questions that you can forward over to me? I know one of the things that I'm just kind of see if I can scroll through this. So the pedal that you're using to change the volume, what is that pedal called?
FC7, Foot Controller 7, made by Yamaha.
FC7.
And highly recommend it. If a lot of times Clavinovas are going into churches to replace the dilapidated piano and quite often the organ at the same time. Well, by getting a Clavinova with the pedal, the organist can feel a little more comfortable because they're operating it like an organ for the organ pieces and then like a piano for the piano pieces.
I'm wondering if you could answer a question about MIDI. And what exactly is MIDI, and how can you use that to connect to other apps or other programs from the
Well,
Clavinova?
okay, absolutely. Watch this. MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface, and I think the easiest way to think of MIDI is that instead of recording the sound, you're recording the keystrokes. And there's a benefit to that. Watch this. I'm going to record something, and I'm going to make a mistake. All right, everyone hear the mistake? Okay, since I didn't record that in audio, I recorded it in MIDI, I can actually tell the Clavinova, fix that mistake. Take that C sharp, bring it down a half step, and then play it back. Okay, so let me save that file because I do have to save it as a new song. Okay, so what I do is I just go in. There's a little app built into the Clavinova, Song Creator, and so I'm literally going to go in and select that, and look at this. This is how a Clavinova sees music, and there's the C. If I hit the down arrow, it just plays them. There's the mistake. I can see it clearly. I could fix it by hitting plus or minus, but instead it's easier just to do this. It replaced it with the correct note. Now watch this. Plays it back.
Wow.
That is the easiest way to think of MIDI, because MIDI is a recording of the keystrokes, not a recording of the sound, so that you can, it's sort of like word processing for music is really a good way of looking at it. Type out the word processor, or as my friends at Yamaha say, what's a word processor, Craig? I guess that's right.
We've got another great question. So Mario is asking, how were the Bösendorfer and other pianos sampled, and are these accurate? I wonder if you could speak to
Very carefully. No, we literally take the piano, the Bösendorfer Imperial, the Yamaha CFX, the most recorded piano in history, the C7, take it into a recording studio, tune it perfectly, regulate it perfectly, then you set up these microphones in perfect locations. In certain points, too, we actually use a microphone in the shape of a human head. It's called binaural sampling, where the ears have the microphones. So they set that microphone in front of the piano, play all of those notes. The reason why that shape of the head is important is because when you play notes over here, that sound hits this ear very slightly before this one, and you're quite spatially aware. When you play this thing with headphones, you would swear that you don't have headphones on, that you're hearing the piano. A lot of times people will play, they'll take off the headphones and say, "Can you hear that?" You know, and so that's how we sample it. We record it under perfect conditions, perfectly tuned, perfectly regulated, stored on a chip, so when you play it, it never needs to be tuned. Sort of nice.
Got another interesting question from Michael, who says, I assume the Yamaha Smart Pianist app works with the CVP, but it's kind of unnecessary because of the touch screen. I'm wondering if you could talk to that, because of course there are many different kinds of Clavinovas, a CVP, and of course with the Smart Pianist app. Can you talk about the differences? First of all, what is the Smart Pianist app, and what is it in relationship to the CVP?
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, very good observation. The Smart Pianist app is something that was invented originally with the CSP Clavinova, and its really cool feature were two things, and that was as follows. First of all, the CSP was a Clavinova that had no buttons on it, 0 buttons. So you operated at 100% with the interface, and his point is valid. This is part of what you're paying for with a CVP, is I've got a nice button dedicated to everything. Look how many steps I need to go through to get to record. Boom, because there's a button here labeled record. Look how many steps I need to go through to get the start button on the style section. Boom, because there's a button dedicated to it. So to be fair, on the one hand, the app is really appealing to people because they say, hey, I know how to operate that because I know how to operate an iPad. So you're right, we do make the Smart Pianist app for this instrument, and you're right, we've already got the buttons, so the selection features of the app are not active on the CVP, but the #1 feature that is available on here is a thing called audio to score, and it is compatible with the CVP. So watch this. I'm going to play Adele here, and I'm going to play this song that she played, what was it? Hello, okay? So this just is the first one that came up here. Hello, nice to see you, Adele. I'm loading the file, okay? And when I play this file, she's going to start singing here, all right? And what this app does is it evaluates the audio, and from nothing but the audio, it gives you a chord chart for this song. And this is the thing that people are anxious to do. I've got to turn up the volume on my TV because the volume is going over there.
So let me see if I understand this correctly. This is an app that will take an audio song file and actually create sheet music by recognizing the
let me back
sound
up.
of it? Okay.
The first one I want you to see is this.
Okay.
The first one that it created is a chord chart. Now look at this. F minor, A7, E flat, D flat. It created a chord chart.
Wow.
Nothing but the audio. It even separated the measures. I still don't know how the engineers did that. But Hugh, you make a good point then. If you don't read chord symbols like this is the same data written out as sheet music, okay? Now these are just block chords, just like the chord symbols. If I read music here, but where it gets interesting is you have 60 patterns to choose from. Instead of doing block chords, let's do an easy arpeggio, and then we'll follow the lights, all right? So watch this. It's actually...
That is amazing. Oh my goodness, wow.
Now, if you don't know how to read chords and you don't know how to read music, the lights are
you can see the lights showing you how to play those chords, how to play those notes.
Yes. It's sort of like Guitar Hero, okay? So when I see these lights, the idea is, well, just like follow lights, you can either use chord symbols, use the sheet music, or use the lights to play along with your favorite songs that are already in your phone.
That is amazing. Yep. So you don't have to just learn songs out of a John Thompson book. You can just start learning from the songs that you love. You can start with your own library. That, I mean, talk about creativity. Just kind of a little aside, that's a personal passion of mine. That, yes, as a traditional pianist, I was brought up in a very strict school of technique and tradition. But for my adult students, I love teaching them from a point of passion where I ask them the most important question is, what do you want to play? Because when they start to say, well, I want to play X, Y, or Z, this instrument makes that possible. You can play whatever you want to play and start learning to play from that rather than some esoteric exercise which you don't even know where that's going to lead, right? But this is something where you can get started, learn to play your favorite songs, and you've got all the tools to teach yourself to learn between the app and the instrument. This is so
Hugh,
much fun.
True story. I was in a really important meeting with a university, music school at the university level, and we were sitting in there with the dean. This was in the early days of this app, and we had a little moment before we were getting a little tour, and I said, by the way, do you have an app called Chord Tracker, which is the precursor to Smart Pianist? And Chord Tracker is still available if you want to have that. And he says, no, what's it do? I said, well, it evaluates the audio of any music that's in your iTunes library or in your Droid's music library. It evaluates the audio, and it'll give you a chord chart and piano accompaniment score for that. And he goes, will it work on classical music? I said, let's find out. So we got out the phone, and then it showed all the chords to some classical. That guy went from very professional, and we had a great meeting. He was bouncing off the wall saying, I can't wait to show all of my students this because it's so cool. Yeah, so
and that's the thing, too.
Chord Tracker.
This is great for teachers to teach students, right?
Yeah.
This is great for students to learn on their own. I mean, the education, the creation possibilities, just amazing. I got another question. Okay, two more questions. They're asking about the wireless dongle. Michael is asking about the wireless dongle. What can you talk a little bit about what he's talking about and when a wireless Wi-Fi dongle? Well, there are a couple of different Wi-Fi connection possibilities. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Tell you that we could go on for a while on that, but let me just tell you something that I just discovered yesterday. And what happened here is what just happened. I've got a Bluetooth adapter for MIDI. Remember I used that Bluetooth adapter, that wireless, some people call it a dongle, that connected the piano to the 3D piano app. Remember that?
Oh, okay. So you were connecting to that wirelessly.
I was.
Wow.
In this case, I used Bluetooth MIDI also, and it did send the MIDI data. Just found out today that the new app flashed up a little message, and it says, if your instrument has Bluetooth audio, be sure to connect this iPad to the audio of this instrument. I went to Bluetooth. I went to audio. I connected Bluetooth to the iPad. So all of a sudden, Adele, rather than going through the TV like I was messing around with, it was going through the instruments and the sound system of the Clavinova. So it was sending MIDI wirelessly and then Bluetooth audio wirelessly. I have to put that on Piano Pros because I wasn't aware till today that it could do that.
That is so cool. We've got a couple more.
Best way to learn something is to teach it.
That's right. Got a couple more great questions. Dean is asking, and they're two very similar questions. Dean is asking, how does the piano compare to an acoustic from a pure pianist's perspective? And maybe I can jump in on that a little bit too. And Michael is asking, this is kind of a related question, what's the key action for the CVPs, the Grand Touch 3?
Right. Well, first of all, I'm not the piano player that Hugh are. There's my only Hugh joke. Because I grew up, as you saw, playing the organ. I've learned to really appreciate an acoustic piano, and there is nothing like sitting at a piano that's speaking for itself. You know, sitting down at our NAMM trade show and playing fine pianos, it really is an amazing experience. And I've got a beautiful piano sitting in that other room right now, which is one of my prized possessions. But the simple fact is that I spend 90% of my time here because of what I can do. I can multi-track record. I can play it with headphones. I can do all these things. So they're just different, you know. But Hugh can continue the answer this regarding the action. This is the finest action we've made so far because it also has counterweights in it. It's the first Clavinova we've made When you add counterweights, that's because those hammers, which are really big down here and really small here, tends to make those lower notes harder to play at softer volumes. By adding true counterweights in here, it makes the action more even to play, just like an acoustic piano. So real wood on the inside of the keys, synthetic ivory key tops. My brain, I don't make a different process when I sit and play this versus an acoustic piano for my brain. I don't play them differently. Now you may, I'm sure Hugh, have a different opinion.
I think you're touching on a very important point where it depends on what you want to do. And I have a confession to make, okay?
Okay. I'm going to hit record, MP3. I can make MP3s directly in here.
I've got a confession. So here's a confession. I've been asked by several very important companies, musicians, to make recordings. And many times, and even before the situation we're in now, I've done a lot of recording remotely, believe it or not, because maybe they needed a track really quickly. Now, of course, I'm a pianist, and I play acoustic pianos in acoustic concert halls all over the world. And that's part of what I do. But I'm also a recording artist, okay? When I'm performing live, and again, it depends on the situation. I'll give a couple examples. So if I'm playing in Carnegie Hall, there's something glorious about playing a real grand piano in an acoustically gorgeous space. That's actually pretty rare to find, both a piano that's in great condition, that's really well tuned, and a space acoustically that can accommodate all that. When you have that, it's wonderful, okay? Now, then there are situations where like I've done outreach programs for orchestras, where educational things, where we're going into a library that's not designed to accommodate an acoustic piano. And even if we brought an acoustic piano in there, it would sound terrible, because the walls are, they're not reflective in the right way. It would sound awful. And that's a situation where bringing a digital piano actually sounds better. And then recording, okay? Again, if you have a certain situation where you have the right space and the right microphone, the right engineers, that's great. That's a wonderful acoustic experience. Practically, when I do a lot of these remote tracks, and I won't drop, well, maybe, I won't drop names or company names, but when I've been asked by these major corporations or these major artists to contribute tracks, I use the CVP because it's faster for me and the piano is perfectly in tune. And I've sent these tracks, and I haven't told them whether it was a real piano or not. Unless I tell them, they don't know. And in fact, I've actually fooled a couple of other people where I have a, anyway, I play the video of me playing an acoustic piano, but I've actually recorded it on a digital one. Nobody knows the difference until I actually reveal it. And so there's something to that. So I hope that answers, that's a really great question in terms of comparing an acoustic from a pure pianist perspective. I'm about as pure a pianist as you can expect, but I'm also open-minded enough to know that I can, and flexible enough to know that I can use an acoustic piano in certain situations, okay? And other situations, there are distinct advantages that a digital piano gives me. And particularly, I think what you were covering with all the creativity and the tools that we have that go way above what a piano by itself can do, with the orchestrations, the accompaniment, and the styles, and even the teaching capabilities.
You bring up an interesting point. Piano teachers, for years, I've done hundreds of piano teacher seminars. And basically in that situation, most piano teachers that can afford it have both. And the analogy I use, it's like, how many ovens do you have in your kitchen? You've got the convection oven, I call it the acoustic oven. The convection oven, and then you've got the microwave. And they're both very useful, and piano teachers find the same thing. They'll teach certain principles on the acoustic, and then they'll bounce over to the digital. And so they're just not mutually exclusive if it can be afforded under the right conditions.
I think that's a great illustration. Yeah, I mean, there are times when you want to build that fire by hand, get the real charcoal wood and get that grill going. That's great, for certain meals, but in other times, you know, that I have a June oven, which is a high-tech oven, but I use that about 90% of the time because I can't smoke up my condo, you know. But
So watch
yeah,
this.
okay.
You can't do this. I can't do this on my acoustic piano. Between the Chiclets gum, between these two little lights, oh, that's an old Steve Martin reference. But anyway, I had the guitar up here. I had the strings on memory here. And then I was playing the chords below the bottom light. Anyway, just a lot of fun.
Oh, that is amazing. So, but those are great, great questions. And I think that's something that I encourage all pianists to open up their minds, and all people who are even looking for their first piano to realize there's so much out there. When you have an instrument like the CVP 800 series Clavinova, you really open up possibilities. It's like cooking with a full kitchen. You know, rather than having to start with a couple sticks and learn to build your own fire like a good Kemper.
Hugh, I'm out here in California, and you keep mentioning food analogies, and I'm starting to get hungry.
I'm getting
out here. You
hungry
probably
too.
had
I think
dinner.
I think, yeah, bread, love it. Yes, we all love bread too. Okay, great questions. Everybody, thank you so much for participating.
I played bread. You're right. That's funny.
Is there a piece that you'd like to kind of close our program off with, Craig?
Well, yeah, there is. When I was at Northwestern, I played in the jazz ensemble. And, of course, like every dutiful jazz musician, I learned how to play Take 5.
Actually,
And
before you start playing,
Yep.
I almost forgot to mention, even though we're closing, I want to thank everybody for participating in this workshop. A recording of this will be made available on our website, so be sure to subscribe so that we can let you know when that's available. Also, for those of you who would like more information than what we've given here, there's a lot we could go on. We could go for hours on just talking about the creative possibilities with this instrument. But if you would like to have a one-on-one session with me and with Craig, we're actually doing something very, very special. Craig is going to make himself available tomorrow for a free private consultation, and I'm going to make myself available as well. And the way we're going to do this is with what we call a virtual visit. What you can do is go to cunninghampiano.com and /virtual visit, cunninghampiano.com /virtual visit. There's actually a calendar thing, and look for the King of Prussia location there. But you know, actually, we have two calendars, one in King of Prussia, one in Cherry Hill. You can choose whatever one you want, and we'll coordinate our staff, either myself here in King of Prussia, or we get somebody else in Cherry Hill if that's more convenient for you. And we'll coordinate with one of the staff members, myself, and Craig, so that we can all join in on a video conference call, very much like what we're doing here live, and so that you can ask any questions you have, get a personal tutorial on the instruments. If you're interested in any of them, we do have some of these in stock. And so, Craig, I want to thank you so much for making yourself available tomorrow for anybody that would like to virtually visit us. How cool is that?
I'm looking forward to it. You can either visit with me or Hugh.
Oh, you love pushing that one.
All right, so this last one is, we all know Take 5, but when I was studying this at Northwestern, I just was experimenting with, obviously, 5/4 time, but on the bridge, I went into 1/6/4 measure. So as you listen to it, see if you can hear. So I call this song Take 5 or 6, and hope you enjoy it. And let's go from here.